And I'm grateful to say that I'm in the process today. Lost dreams awaken and new possibilities arise. I am so grateful to be standing here in Atlanta, Georgia today. I've always wanted to go on trips, but the only trips I ever went on was in and out of the penitentiary. I never thought that I would leave the 50-block radius of the hood. But I stand here today real grateful. I want to welcome the newcomer to a new and better way of life and let you know you never have to use again. No matter what. In the program of Narcotics Anonymous, you got a chance at any and everything as long as you don't pick up the dope. To anybody coming back from a relapse or just plain old out using, I'm glad you made it back. Now stay up in here because ain't nothing out there. This young lady that I'm about to introduce is dear to my heart. After God, the NA program, and my children, she's the next best thing that God has gave me to help me to live my life. She is caring, loving, compassionate, inspiring, encouraging, and most of all, she's determined and dedicated. She has a message so simple that even the newcomer can leave with an understanding. And I am grateful that she is a part of my life. I am grateful that she takes me places when she travels. I'm glad that she has helped the little girl in me to grow up to become a teenager. I have not yet reached the woman that God has created for me to be, but I'm still working on it and I'm not giving up. I got a little more time to work on some things, and I'm glad that she is in my life to continue to help me to grow up in this process. I haven't found anyone since I've been around here to help me the way that she does. She's helped many of people since I've known her. She is a great leader and a great role model to many people. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce my sponsor all the way from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Give it up for Anneshia F. It's about to go down up in here.
Atlanta! My name is Anneshia F. and I'm a grateful recovering addict. I'm going to tell the audio people you might want to turn this mic down. I have a loud voice and it's annoying if the mic is too loud. I would ask that you would, my name is Anneshia F. I'm a grateful recovering addict. I would ask that you would take a moment of silence with me out of respect for the God of my understanding so I can ask him to get me out of the way so that I can deliver a clear message of recovery. Thank you. Again, my name is Anneshia F. and I'm a grateful recovering addict. First of all, I'd like to thank the God of my understanding for the daily reprieve that I've been granted from active addiction. I don't get it twisted, it's a daily reprieve. Next, I'd like to thank Magna for asking me to speak. I've been so geeked, I've been going around telling people I don't even know I'm going to Atlanta. The lady at the store like, okay. Like, don't hate, I'm going to Atlanta, what's up, right? I also like to thank my sponsee, Charmaine, who travels with me, who also works with me. We work at the same counseling agency. There's a lot of addicts there now, recovering addicts working there. We be walking by in our suits like, what's up? And I also like to thank my sponsor, Marla E., out of the Inkster, Detroit area. I'm from Detroit, but I've been in Grand Rapids, Michigan since I had 2 months clean. My people didn't think I could stay clean in Detroit, and they was right. Okay, and you know, I like to say that I'm willing to admit without reservations that I'm allergic to drugs. I break out in handcuffs. I break out in fishnet stockings. You need to understand that if I used today, it would not matter. Me and my 2 master's degrees would be on the corner of Woodward and Westminster in Detroit in some fishnet stockings. I ain't got it twisted. And I know that sometimes the newcomer, one of my predecessors told me you should never give an open talk without anyone knowing what your drug of choice was. Because it says in what is the Narcotics Anonymous program that NA is a non-profit fellowship or a society of men and women for whom drugs had become a major problem. I didn't come in here because of the other manifestations of the disease of addiction. I will talk about those other manifestations, but I didn't come in here because my defects of character was tearing me out the frame. I came in here because my money and my dope kept running out at the same time. The only defect I had was that the dope man wouldn't give me one more credit. So I want to help the newcomer because I know that, the disease of addiction has the ability to defend itself. And so if the disease of addiction can defend itself, it's going after the ultimate weapon, which is another recovering addict. But I want to give kudos to Atlanta because I only got about 3 or 4 funny looks this weekend. And I travel a lot, so usually people be looking at me strange until they hear me share and realize how safe they are. But I understand the funny looks because I used to give them too when I didn't know who I was. And I'll touch on that again. I'll touch on that too as I tell my story. But for the newcomer, I want to help you understand what we mean when we say we have an allergic reaction. Because a lot of times you hear words like that, but sometimes you need something to help you understand it. So I like to compare it to peanuts. If I had an allergy to peanuts. See, if I was allergic to peanuts, it wouldn't matter how many peanuts I ate. It would be the first peanut that would cause a reaction. It wouldn't matter if I ate peanuts on Monday and then didn't eat them again until Friday. I still would have a reaction when I came in contact with peanuts. And so I act as if I compare I compare an addiction to peanuts to my allergy to drugs, okay? And I do what people do when they find out they're allergic to peanuts, okay? I let people know. See, when people find out they're allergic to peanuts, they don't go on tours of the peanut factory. So when people be around here sharing that they can go to the club and they can go to the bar and all of that, you need to watch where you sharing that at, because you have a responsibility to the newcomer who might not make it out the bar clean. What I'm going in there for? To watch other people eat peanuts? Come on now. If I'm allergic to peanuts, then anybody in my life has to respect my allergy. I'm not going to be laying in a bed with a man and he laying next to me eating a peanut sandwich and eating a Snickers and eating hell to the no. I might break out from the vapors in the air. I hang signs up. People hang signs up when they're allergic to peanuts. Do not bring any peanuts in this sucker. Don't bring nothing in here that got peanuts in it. When they go to the store, they read labels. When I go places, I read labels. I don't even use Dijon mustard because it got white wine in it. I respect the disease of addiction. I don't know where it took you to. So I want to help the newcomer understand what our message is. And you find our message in the basic text on page 65. It says the message is that an addict, any addict, can stop using drugs, lose the desire to use drugs, and find a new way to live. Now, I bought into the fact that I could stop using drugs when y'all told me that, because I stopped every time I went to jail. But when y'all told me that I could lose the desire, I wasn't buying it. So if there's a newcomer in here that's struggling, that you hanging on by your fingernails, hang on. Because I'm here to tell you somewhere in the mix, I lost the desire to use. I don't struggle like that anymore. You know, I was praying, because I always pray before I speak. My story don't change, but the parts of my story that my higher power choose for me to tell often changes, because he know who in the audience. I don't know who gonna be here. So I asked him to tell me exactly what part of my story to tell to reach whoever is in the particular audience, you know? And I know that a lot of times when we talk about external accomplishments in certain areas, people get intimidated. But I'm glad y'all done gave me permission with the theme, because the theme is lost dreams awaken and new possibilities arise. But before I talk about where the God of my understanding has brought me from since the day I surrendered, surrender for real, I want to tell you about all of the things he's done for me, and it sounds almost like fiction. Because it's so amazing. Sometimes I look at my life and it don't even seem real to me. But first of all, I want to help people understand what we mean by when we say any addict. When we say any addict, we're talking about the addict that went into labor twice at the crack house. I made it to the hospital before I gave birth, but I was in labor smoking. And people was like, "You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got gas." I was smoking in labor and left just right before I knew I had enough time to get to the hospital. One of my children, my son that I gave birth to in Hutzel Hospital in Detroit that has the high-risk unit for high-risk pregnancy, and the doctor came into the room and said, Miss Freeman, how much dope did you smoke today? Your baby's body is flopping on the table like a fish. That addict. When they say any addict, they talking about that addict. They induced labor on the third one when I went in for one of my psychotic breaks because they said she didn't have enough fluid around her, so they induced labor and took her out. That addict, when they talking about any addict. The addict that the dope man took to treatment. He was my payee on my Social Security disability check. He took me to treatment so he could get some rest. Because he was the weight man, okay? This wasn't the little boy, this was the district manager dope man. And he was my pay. He did that as a favor to my brother. Long story. And so I would be trying to get some credit on June check in February. Because I had smoked February, March, April, and May. When they say any addict, they talking about that addict. The addict that the police got out their car with pepper spray. Because see, my street name was Lisa in Detroit, and Lisa would be up for weeks. I passed out, I didn't go to sleep. I was up until I passed out, and I would be high, drunk, everything else out of my mind, and usually I would have these psychotic breaks every now and then. That's how I wound up getting a disability check. And I would have these breaks, and they could tell when I was in one of them break modes, because I'd probably be walking down the street with no shoes on, my clothes half torn off of me with a 2x4, and would run up, and it's a miracle I'm standing here, because they don't play, the Detroit police do not play that, but I done ran up on them with 2x4s, like, what the hell y'all want? And they would just pepper spray me and take me down to the Detroit Crisis Center. Now, I don't know in Detroit how they do it in Atlanta, but in Detroit, I don't know if they still do it. I've been clean a little while, but they had the crisis center down at Detroit Receiving Hospital. So whenever you was out your mind, and the police would take you to the crisis center, and that's where they did the intake for all of the other psych units and hospitals, and they would drag you in. The police drove me in there, pepper sprayed me, and drugged me in there so many times. And they knew me on first name basis. They would be like, and I'll say my last name, the police would drag me, they'd be like, Miss Freeman. They had me in handcuffs, I'd have been pepper sprayed. They'd be like, Miss Freeman. And they got these big guards standing there, the big guys standing there with the restraints, the leather restraints, and they got the nurse standing there with the big needle that's gonna knock you out for 2 days. And they'd like, be Miss Freeman, we getting ready to take the handcuffs off. Miss Freeman, are you gonna cooperate? Are you going? I'll be like, take him off. You brave, take him off, right? I'm talking about that addict. When they say any addict can lose the desire to use. Huh? They talking about that addict. And so, I finally surrendered. I was in and out the fellowship around Detroit, in and out. I could never get past 90 days. I was the 30, 60, 90-day girl. Because I would do the same thing every time I came to Narcotics Anonymous. I would get into a relationship. I would be the only one in it. And it was usually with somebody else's man. And you need to understand, it wasn't because I was just some skanky hoe that liked to hurt people. It was because because a long time ago, and a little wounded girl on LeMay Street, somebody told her that she was nothing and that she would never be anything and that she was stupid. Somebody beat her and raped her and molested her. And this little girl grew up thinking that she was less than everybody. And I never ever thought there was anything inside of me that could command somebody's attention, so I thought I had to be a side dish. And I settled for that all of my life. And I hated other women that had me. I hated y'all because I was the one they left and went home to y'all, and I couldn't understand why wouldn't nobody be with me. And I didn't know that it had everything to do with me and it had everything to do with my perception of me and nothing to do with me. So I would go back out and use. And there was a lot of other dynamics going on, unaddressed trauma, a lot of other issues. The book tells us some of us need outside help. And I was one of those persons that needed outside help, and I got some this time around. And so I would go in and out, in and out, in and out. And the disease of addiction brought me to my knees, and I finally surrendered. Standing in front of the Town Motel on West Grand Boulevard in Detroit, and that's a crack motel. And I was standing there, and and God of my understanding, deep in my spirit, told me, leave now or die here. You ever know what it's like when you're in addiction and it's like somebody turned the hourglass upside down and the sand started dribbling through and it ain't no more sand in the glass? I'm talking about when you start getting paranoid. I'm talking about when you used to get high in some dungeons and it didn't bother you, but then towards the end you started getting paranoid, and every time you took a hit, that Jaws music would start. And you was ruining everybody high. Because you paranoid as hell. Because I'm telling you something bad getting ready to happen. So right now, by now, you paying to peek out the window, right? So the God of my understanding let me know that all them near misses and all of those close calls and all that tuck and roll out the car. Because see, if you work the stroll, you have to learn how to tuck and roll out the moving car. All of those near misses, he let me know, hey, I'm taking my grace off of you if you don't leave today. And with the grace on me, I'd have been beaten so I didn't look human for 2 months. Huh? So but I had a major dilemma when God gave me that ultimatum on August the 7th. I had $5. Only somebody who smoked crack would understand that was a major dilemma. Because you could get on in Detroit for $5, right? So I'm standing there clutching this little balled up $5. Well, leave and, or die here, and I'm like trying to make a decision. And, I went and got changed and got on the bus and went to my sister's house and lived in Southfield, where I knew I would be safe, and I haven't found the need to use drugs or alcohol since then. And, I want you to know that when I came, my family sent me to Grand Rapids because some of my family was here, some of it was in Detroit. And I got these two sides of my family. I don't know if I'm the only one. I got this bushy side of my family, then I got the gangster side. Y'all know, family reunions be real interesting, right? Because I got these hoity-toity sisters, and then I got these straight gangster brothers, that serving life in the penitentiary and natural life, triple life, all of this, right? And so my hoity-toity part of my family, they sent me up here, up from Detroit to Grand Rapids. And I was mad about it. I cried all the way to Grand Rapids, right? I took it as rejection. But they was trying to save my life. They got tired of being, because I'm the youngest of 9, and they got tired of hearing about these girls' bodies being found and all of that, and not knowing, because they wouldn't hear from me for sometimes a year or 2 or months. I just didn't mess with my family when I used. They had my kids, they took my kids, they raised my kids, and I did my thing. See, because I was out there on the stroll when that guy killed 17 girls around Woodward in Detroit. I was out there every day. So they hearing on the news, we found another girl, and they never knew if it was me or not. And they calling hospitals and morgues and all of that. They was just so happy when I got clean this time. They was like, get out of Detroit. And so I went to Grand Rapids to stay with my daughter, who was 21 at the time. She was 7 when I left her to pursue my addiction. And I went and moved in her house, and I still was getting my little disability check. So I moved in paying rent and, buying groceries. I ain't never been the type that like to sponge off people, and so I moved into her house, but I had some unrealistic expectations. And it tells us in recovery and relapse that one of the biggest stumbling blocks to recovery is that we tend to put unrealistic expectations on ourselves and others. And I went in there thinking that, this girl is so happy that I'm clean. We're going to be the Brady Bunch. We're going to be on Oprah. Mother and daughter reunited after separated by the horrors of accident. It wasn't. That girl had some issues with me. She had been shipped from family member to family member to family member. Every time she got in trouble, they would tell her, you're going to be like your crackhead mama. Her cousins was teasing her, talking about your mama don't love you, your mama on crack. That was her life growing up. The bougie side of my family raised her, but she went to regular school while their kids went to private school. Her cousins wore designer clothes while she wore, Kmart clothes. And so she had some issues with me when I moved up in that house. And I remember going to the meeting, getting ready to go to the NA meeting. She had to drive me around. I didn't have a car. I didn't know my way around Grand Rapids. So she gonna take me to the meeting, and I had on some shorts. And she was like, Mother, those shorts are too short. And I remember I'm looking down, I'm like, I don't think these shorts are too short. I think these are just some fine shorts to wear to the meeting. And she was like, well, I guess that's just that whole mentality. So I'm looking at her like, bitch, I don't know you like that, for real, Don't get it twisted, for real. So I went to the meeting and shared, because it was a lot of, that was like every day she was finding little things to pick at me about, and I didn't know it was pain. And I've later learned her pain was valid, but I couldn't deal with her pain with 60 days clean. I couldn't handle that. And that's what I love about Narcotics Anonymous. I went to the meeting and shared what was going on. I said, I'm gonna hurt that girl or I'm gonna get high. And some people told me about some recovery houses in the Grand Rapids area. And I moved into a recovery house and lived there for 2 years. And people was telling me, oh, girl, that's a transitional house. You're not supposed to stay here but 60 days or 90. The director said you could stay here until you get ready to leave. And I stayed there until I learned how to live. Because I had been reduced to the animal level. I spoke fluent profanity. I couldn't even, where I come from, that's how we talk. We didn't cuss when we got angry. We greeted each other. What the blankety blank of, That's how I talked. I was like a wild woman. And this woman was I believe that she is designed to specifically work with people like me. Because she didn't challenge me. She didn't tell me, you can't talk like that. Whenever I would talk, she would paraphrase back to me what I said using appropriate language. She just was so smooth with it. And she had rules and structure and discipline up in that house. She reparented me. She gave me what I didn't get growing up. Because see, on the street, they called me the hardest working hoe on Woodward. I got paid, but when I got clean, it wasn't that I was lazy. I just didn't have that crack courage to motivate me. So when I moved to her house, she let us know. She said, dig this here. 2 feet on the floor at 8 a.m. every morning out the door. You either work, go to school, or volunteer. And I came in with my disability check. She said, I don't care nothing about your disability check. Ain't nothing wrong with you. You weren't disabled a little while ago when you was smoking crack and jumping in and out of cars. You ain't gonna be disabled in my house. This ain't no flop house. Get up and do something with your life. And I don't like poverty. Poverty is depressing. So I decided to go to school. I don't do poor real well. I'm kidding, I don't like that. So I went to school, and I sat in that recovery house and I went to school. And I slammed that associate's in a year and a half, and I got my associate's degree, summa cum laude. But when I first started, because as I talk about education, because I went on, I got 2 masters now, but when I talk about it, a lot of people who try to downplay your accomplishments, and they'll say something like, oh, well, you just one of them people that just do school real well. Hell no. When I took the placement test for the community college, they had a question on there that said 2 minus 10. I skipped it. I thought it was a trick question. I said, you can't do that. I'm like, y'all almost got me on that one. My first English class where I had to write a paper, research paper, that woman, she wouldn't accept it to even grade it until I made 5 drafts of it. She circled every other word in red the first time I turned it in. She wouldn't even accept it. She circled every other word and said, you need to fix it. And I had to write it again. Then she circled every 3 words in red. And I had to fix it again. Then she circled every 2 words. She wouldn't even accept it until the 5th time I read it. Then she still had a bunch of notes all over it. So it wasn't like I just was this genius that came in here and slid. No, I worked for this, honey. I worked for everything I got. I went to the math lab. I had college hour. I went to the math lab. I had math Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9:40. And I went to the math lab at 8 o'clock from Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and sat there from 8 o'clock to 9:30 Monday, Wednesday, and Friday until I understood how to do that math. See, because I went after my things, the dreams that I had, I went after them with the same determination that I went after the dope. And so I'm standing here today telling you that I have an associate's in computer technology, a bachelor's in business, a master's in business administration. I'm a certified alcohol and drug counselor, and I just completed my MSW on April 28th. All of them summa cum laude. I'm talking about any addict. The addict that went in labor at the crack house. But I want to tell you that even though the external accomplishments are awesome, they would mean absolutely nothing if it wasn't for the internal work that the God of my understanding has done in my life through the program. And the reason I came up here with all this literature is just to show people what the program, this is the fellowship, the program is contained in our literature. And so when I came around this time, you know what I'm saying, every time in Detroit when I would get clean, and the reason I never got past 90 days is because I would do the 1, 2, 3 step. I wouldn't mess with that 4th step. And the book tells us what happened to people who don't mess with the 4th step. We relax. And so I never would mess with that 4th step. And this time around, when I walked away from the town motel, I made a deal with God. And they say, be careful what you pray for, but I'm glad I prayed that prayer walking to the bus stop. I said, dig this here. That's how I prayed. I was offended, heavenly. I was like, check this out. I ain't gonna smoke no more dope, but you gonna have to do something for me. If you do this for me, I promise you I won't pick up the first one. I wanna be smooth. I said, I wanna be okay no matter where I'm at, who I'm around. I wanna be comfortable in my own skin. I wanna be smooth. I don't want hair esteem. I don't want car esteem. I don't want clothes esteem. I don't want big booty esteem. I don't want that's my man esteem. I want self-esteem. See, because if you got any other kind of esteem, you still got a cop. See, if I got clothes esteem, I got the cop. I wore this at Tampa. I was trying to remember if I wore it to New Jersey. I was like, cause I saw Jersey in the house. I was like, wait a minute, oh well, hell, get it. Cause I'm getting ready to open up my new business, baby. That's where my money going. I'm gonna be rich, but it takes investment. I don't have clothes esteem. I don't have that's my man esteem. The one who told you she used to pass her stuff around. I just want the ladies to know that how safe they was that's been rolling their eyes at me this weekend. Honey, I've been celibate for 8.5 years with no slips, no dips, and no weekend trips. I'm an evangelist. The next time I lay down with somebody, it's gonna be on my wedding night. And that's my story. And y'all told me, y'all brought me here to tell my story. That's my story. And y'all told me my real value is in being myself. I'm okay with who Anneshia F is today. I like me, and I like my life. See, because when I started the celibacy trip, it wasn't for no real spiritual reason. It was because I was tired of getting hurt. And I decided to take a break and get to know me. And in the meantime, my spirituality developed in a particular faith that I practiced. That's one of the ordinances. And by the time I had been doing it for a while, I was just like, hey, I can do this. I've been busy. I've been in school. I've been unhindered by anything. I've been able to focus. And in the midst of that, because I now have criteria, see, I never had criteria as it relates to a relationship before I knew who I was. I got criteria now. It's not that I don't want one, but you got this some stuff. It's some non-negotiable criteria. And I ain't saying I'm a gold digger, but I ain't messing with no, okay, let me stop. I don't get down like that. I didn't get down like that when I was on crack. Really going on. So when I got, when I came around this time, I didn't know that you make stuff smooth by applying a lot of pressure. I would say, make me smooth, God. I didn't know I was asking him to give me a whole lot of pressure, whole lot. And so I wasn't getting ready to mess with that fourth step this time around. You got to understand, he remembered that prayer, and he did for me what I would not do for myself. The last class for my associate's degree was interpersonal communication, but he didn't teach interpersonal, he taught intrapersonal, how you communicate with yourself. And so the first assignment, the first day of class, he said, take out a piece of paper, draw the floor plan of the house you grew up in, and label a feeling to each room, and turn to the person next to you and talk about it. And I remember I took computer technology just so I didn't have to deal with people. Put me in a room with some inanimate objects, I'm cool. Right the hell out you a program, right? So I put that class off to the last because I knew it was going to be hard for me. I have never been intimate with anyone. I've had a lot of sex with people, but I've never been intimate with anyone, ever. I didn't have relationships when I was using dope. One of the little poor little dope men accidentally fell in love with a crackhead. Poor thing. I told him about the fire. I think I cured him for selling dope. I had that little boy crying. He would be sitting there, this was a thug. He would be sitting there crying, looking at me, peeping out the window, right? And he would be like, why do you smoke that stuff? What is wrong with you? All it do is make you look out the window. All it do is make you scared. Why in the hell would you smoke stuff that makes you look out the window? What the hell is wrong with you? I looked at him and I was like, shh, motherfucker, shit. Fuck wrong with your ass? Give me the gun. So I've never had these intimate relationships. So the teacher gonna give this example. He gonna say, well, when you think of the kitchen, you think of something warm and tender. You think of grandma cookies. And baking and the smells. And I'm looking at him like, well, nobody baking cookies in my kitchen, dude. I'm saying that he took me back to the torture chamber that I didn't want to go back to. See, my mama was an undiagnosed, paranoid, schizophrenic, religious fanatic who suffered from obsessive compulsive disorder. And if you want to know what that looks like, how many of you seen the movie Carrie? How many of you seen Sybil or read the book Sybil? If you take them two mothers and put them together, that was my mother, no exaggeration. And I'm the youngest of 9, so she was in her mid-40s. And if anybody know a thing about schizophrenia, it usually starts in the early 20s and get progressively worse if untreated. So she was gone by the time I came. She was in her mid-40s. She was real sick and had never been diagnosed or treated. So she tormented me. All my brothers and sisters, they broke wide. In my family, the girls looked like a woman at age 11 and 12. I was this height and this build at 12. We all grow up physically fast. So they got the hell out of there. My brothers was living in a book Cadillac motel, pimping hoes when he was 13. I mean, everybody in my family grew up real fast and got out on their own. So I was left there by myself with her and another family member who happened to be a pedophile. So it was like a tag team. When she went to work, he would molest me. When she came home, he would stop, and then she would start beating me with extension cords and calling me names and telling me I would never be anything. That was the first 12 years of my life. And it was all done in the name of God, because she was also a religious fanatic. She used to make me memorize chapters out of the Bible. I didn't say verses, I said chapters. By the time I was 5, I could name every book in the Bible in chronological order. And I can still do it today. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, 1 Second, 1 Saint King, 1 Saint Chronicle, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job, Psalm, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, 2 Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Joel, Amos, Obadiah. I could do that to Revelation. And when her friends would come over from church, her sanctified friends, she would make me come out and recite these passages. And if I got them all right, she would be like, it's my baby. And her friends would be like, you sure is raising that baby right, man. And with her, and the only other time I got any validation or recognition was when my molester, when I was alone with him, he would be nice to me for a few minutes right before he molested me. And even though I knew that I had to pay a price for him being nice to me, those were the only few minutes anybody was nice to me, and I craved those few minutes. Even though I knew I had to pay for them, I would relish in a few minutes when somebody was being nice to me. So see, when he asked me to draw that floor plan, he asked me to go back there. I hadn't been back there. That's what I had been running from all those years. But something in my spirit said, do it. You need to do it. So I turned to the little girl next to me and blew her mind. I'm sure I traumatized the hell out of her. She was like, oh my God. But I drove home in my little hoopty that day knowing that it was time for me to do the steps, to do step 4 officially. And I cracked out, I went home, and I got my step working guide, and I got my notepad, and I got my pen, and I started writing. And that's when my freedom started, y'all. The freedom I had been looking for all my life. And I started with the first category in step 4, resentments. But I want to tell you something that it says about the reason we do step 4. It says the purpose of a searching, and this is in the basic text on page 27. The purpose of a searching and fearless moral inventory is to sort through the confusion and contradiction of our lives. It says a little way down, a written inventory will unlock parts of our subconscious that remain hidden when we simply think about or talk about who we are. Once it is all down on paper, it is much easier to see and much harder to deny our true nature. And here is where I got the answers. This paragraph showed me, and I didn't make the connection when I read this paragraph until I went back and looked at the recurring themes in my resentments. But this paragraph, and it works how and why, in step 4 on page 42, it says we write about how we felt about our families and the way we acted on our feelings. In most cases, we'll find that the patterns of behavior we established early in life are what we have carried with us up to the present. So when I started writing about step 1, I'm one of them overachievers, nitpicky perfectionist overachiever people that get on your nerves if you in school. You know the ones that you sit next to that be printing their stuff and getting it laminated and Kinko's and professionally bound and have charts and diagrams printed in color and be looking at your stuff like, yeah, you gonna turn that in like that? So I didn't just do step work, I did step work. I didn't get high. I
got high. So I didn't want to recover. Do you understand? I wanted to recover. So I wrote on the first question under resentments for 30 days. I started with R1, resentment 1, and I wrote about my mama. Then I wrote R2, and I wrote about my molester. R3, I wrote about my siblings who knew what was going on in that house and didn't get me up out of there. I wrote about the little girl, the popular girls at high school, at junior high and elementary, who was only nice to me when I had some candy. I'm talking about I wrote all through my teenage years, all through active addiction, all through my issues with people in the rules of Narcotics Anonymous. And so later in that same category of resentments, they ask you to go back in and identify the recurring themes in your resentments. So when I went back, I started noticing something. I started noticing that R1 was the same as R52. It was just with 2 different people. Then I noticed that R2 was the same as R46. It was just with different people. I started noticing that I had been doing an adult reenactment of my childhood script with different people in different sets. See, because some of the recurring themes that was in my step 4 was betrayal, rejection, abandonment, hurt, and some of the patterns that I identified from my resentments. See, because in my house on LeMay Street on the east side of Detroit where I was raised, everybody was treated better than me. Okay. Everybody was treated better than me. Everybody was more important than me. My needs were not important. I could do nothing right. And so when I looked down, I had to do stuff for people for them to tolerate me for a few minutes. Like the only time my mother put up with me is when I recited all of the verses for her friends. The only time the kids at school was nice to me was when I had some candy. So early on, I started believing that I had to pay people to tolerate me because something was wrong with me. So when it got to the point that was so ingrained in me, that pattern, that useless pattern, was so ingrained in me by the time I went to school from my house that I didn't go into the school and go up to the kids and say, "Hi, my name is Anneshia. Can I play with you?" I went in like I got some candy. So when I came in the rules of Narcotics Anonymous with the micro mini on, all I was saying was, "I got some candy." I'm talking about the youth. They say these are the patterns that we've carried with us up until today. And the reason I got high, see, because when I went to the treatment centers, they would tell me, "This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs." And I would be sitting there looking at them like I would smoke your shoelaces. The polar therapists, they would be sweating and trying to talk to me, right? They would be like, "Anneshia, you're hurting yourself." And I'm sitting there looking at them like, because abuse was a natural state for me. I didn't have a base of comparison. What does Anneshia not being hurt look like? What does that feel? I've never had that experience. So what you talked about sounded like fantasy to me. Where is this mythological place where Annesia's not getting hurt and someone is treating her nice? Where is that place? I've paid people to act like they like me. Huh? And see what they didn't do for me, what I do now as a therapist? Huh? Because see, now I have a contract, I got my own program. I'm the outside help now. I've been contracting with 61st District Court, Drug Court, and Sobriety Court for 9 years. I've got my own program. They send me the people they can't do nothing with. They send me the ones that cuss the judge out. Huh? They're like, "Send her to Anneshia." Anneshia, we got another one for you. Right? Because see, the ones that come in, the harder they are, the more wounded they are. And I understand that anger. Because see, the reason I used drugs was because Lisa could do things Anneshia couldn't do. See, and the reason I would ingest the magic formula that they talk about in the book was to let Mr. Hyde out. Because without the Mr. Hyde, I was the nerdy little Dr. Jekyll with the glasses and the insecurities that needed you to like me and care what you thought and care what everyone your facial expression meant. But if I adjusted the formula, what the hell you looking at? The hell wrong with what? What you want to do? So what? Let's get it on. We ain't got to go outside. No, we can do that right here. Because see, I grew up in a house where I learned both roles. Listen, see, when I was in an environment where there was a victim and a villain, and anytime it says we carried these useless patterns, it didn't say which ones. I carried the victim and the villain patterns with me. And most of the time, I funded my victim productions by being a villain on another set. I have always had one set where I was sending them home with a barrel on. I took your money, your mama money, your uncle, cousin, friend money. Shut the hell up, don't talk to me, get the hell out. But I would take his money and go over to the one that was telling me, give me your money, don't say nothing to me, shut the hell up, get the hell out. I was trying to fix my script. See, this was my script. I'm surrounded by emotionally unavailable people. I go through all kind of changes trying to win their love and acceptance. I never get it, the end. I carried that useless pattern with me from LeMay Street. And I would ingest the magic formula so I could feel okay about this scene, that mythological scene that never happened, that the disease told me was there. The disease kept tricking me into things. See, I'm telling y'all the pimp game right now. And for y'all who don't know old school pimp game, pimp is an acronym. Power in manipulating people. And they do it based on your unfinished business with the patterns from your childhood. That's the pimp game. That's why Slick Rick and Tricky Ricky and Shady Grady, they would just be my mama. Mean, emotionally unavailable, cruel. But then when I came in, they would not, Lisa in the house, I got that money. Then they would act like they liked me for a few minutes. They would make me think you got the script right. You done fixed this last page in the script. Because see, the disease told me there was another page, I just had to get it right. It told me that this was going to be the script. You're surrounded by emotionally unavailable people. You go through all kind of changes trying to win their love and acceptance. And finally, they see the light. They see that you are deserving of all of the love. They see you're a good person. They see that you deserve to be loved and cared for. They apologize for not seeing this earlier, and they give you all the love and acceptance and respect that you've been seeking all of your life retroactively. And y'all ride off into the sunset on a white horse with Michael McDonald singing, I want to know what love is, and I want you, and y'all looking to each other, but there was no other page. I would leave tricks in the hotel that was giving me hundreds of dollars, and I would take their money. They didn't even smoke. Here the money, here the dough, just be here, right? No, I would take their money and go back to the spot with Shady Grady, Tricky Ricky, and Lowdown and pay them to act like they liked me for a few minutes. And they would act like they cared about me till my money ran out. And I'd go get some more and come right back to they got 5 crack houses on the streets in Detroit. I went to the same crack house. And see, I understood. I found all of this stuff out in my step work and with the help of my outside help. I broke those patterns. I understand. I got a list of my stuff. That's what I do for a living now. I take people back, and I give them a list I give them their useless patterns on 4x7 laminated cards. That's what I do for a living. I got private customers who got PhDs behind their name that come for one of those. Some of them ain't never used dope. They just got the useless patterns. So when I stand up here and tell you that lost dreams awaken and new possibilities arise, I think I got 5 minutes. Let me tell you a little bit. So you see, he's giving me the external accomplishments. He's made it. I got a long way to go, but he's giving me a lot of internal progress. Here's the hit now, because they say those old bugaboos will come back and haunt you. I just finished, for what I put on this earth to do, my assignment that I'm on this earth to do, it required the MBA and the master's in social work. And so now, all of these opportunities are presenting themselves. It's time for me to launch out on my own. But I don't want to leave the safety and security of this organization I've been with. They telling me you too big for us. They sitting down talking to me. And I'm taking them telling me we would rather consult with you than have you as an employee. Other people are telling me, my friend E.T. can see I'm not only I'm a therapist, I'm an addiction counselor, and I got my own consulting firm, but I've been doing it on the side, and it's blowing up. And now the demands from all of these different things are becoming too much. And God will show you, he'll bring you an example. My friend E.T. is a motivational speaker because I'm a motivational speaker. A lot of times I get I'm thinking some of my big places, they pay me like $1,000 for an hour. And I'm thinking that's big. E.T. making 10 and 15, and he's sitting there. I'm like, they paying you what? I'm talking about he ran with Nike, and he just did a presentation for the Miami Dolphins. And I'm like, E.T., so for real, how much they paying you for an hour? He was like 10 or 15. I said, 10 or 15 what? He said, grand. So he's bringing me the example. He be mic'd up when he doing his presentation. His boys on the audio be behind him. His stuff be on iTunes before he get to the parking lot. I'm like, oh boy, get down, right? So you ain't gotta leave everything. A lot of times we think if we lead a hustling game on the street that's the only way we can hustle. You can hustle up in here. I do professional trainings for organizations. I got one I do for organizations called Hoodieology. They pay me good. They'd be like, so when you were looking out the window, what did you think was out there? I be getting paid. I get paid when I was on the stroll. I got to get the money, right? But now the challenge is going ahead and taking that step out on my own, from up under benefits and having to go buy my own Blue Cross Blue Shield coverage and that fear. And I'm a straight A student, MBA, MSW. What you scared of, girl? But that old bugaboo, that old voices, oh, you ain't gonna be able to do it, something, you stupid, you dumb door, you ignorant slut, all of the names that all of those old bugaboos will come back and hunt you when you're trying to go to the next level. Huh? But you know what? I'm going for it. I done heard some good stuff this weekend. I'm not gonna be 90 years old shooting on myself. I shoulda did this. I shoulda did that. I'm going for it. Lisa went for it. When that serial killer was out there, Lisa went to work. She went out there and said, he ain't met the right one. That's how I went out and shit. I got something for him, buddy. So you know what? I'm going out there the same way. I got something for him. That's all I got. Thanks for letting me share.